Roll them credits, baby.
All right, and we're back with another episode of Coach's Kingdom, where it's all sports all the time. Gotta love Caleb interrupting the rolling of the socials. But we're gonna jump right into it. Yeah, we're gonna jump right into it. The wave one, pretty much the wave one free agents have pretty much all been signed at this point. There's been a couple that have just now been signed. We've rolled into wave two, which are like the cheaper, not as great as the first wave free agents. So we've made our way there. We're gonna update y'all on a few free agent signings and trades that have gone down, which is shocking amount of trades that have gone down. Caleb, you want to start it off?
So I guess I'll start off with the news for today because that's the big topic.
Yeah.
Atlanta trades Matt Ryan to Indianapolis for a third-round pick.
Well, Deshaun Watson, you want to start there? Because that kind of got the ball rolling.
That was yesterday, but, I mean, we can, yeah.
Yeah, let's do that.
So, Deshaun Watson traded to the Browns the Browns sent the Texans their 2022, 2023, and 2024 first-round draft picks, a 2023 third, and a 2024 fourth. Watson has now also signed with the Browns. His contract is 5 years, $230 million, all guaranteed money.
Which is not only the richest contract in NFL history, it is only the second time ever in NFL history that 3 first-round picks from one single team have been traded to another. Do you remember the other one? Oh, man.
It's going to hurt my feelings, isn't it? I can't think of it off the top of my head. Go ahead.
Herschel Walker, Cowboys to the Vikings.
Yep. Yep.
Vikings fans ain't gonna love hearing that.
Yeah. Where are they?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Not here because we're at the beach.
Right, we're at the beach. We're in Hawaii, baby. Let's go.
Yeah. We're with Marcus, who's now rich. So, again.
Yeah, unfortunately, Marcus is in the streets of Atlanta now.
Yep.
So, Atlanta trades Matt Ryan to Indianapolis for a third-round pick today. 2 seconds after that happens, they sign Marcus Mariota to the 2-year deal. So, they draft at 8 overall. I immediately go to the thought process of Malik Willis is going to be on the board at 8. You think, looking at the rest of the draft, other than maybe Houston at 3.
Well, I don't think Houston's going to go quarterback.
Right. I mean, I think that's one of those 50-50 calls that I wouldn't be surprised if they went quarterback.
Yeah, they could go quarterback. I think the first quarterback will be taken off the board at 6 with Carolina. They know they don't have the answer in Sam Darnold. So
do they? Do they now?
Yeah.
Christian McCaffrey will save everything. That's all it is.
Yeah, right.
That's all that matters.
So I think the first quarterback, and that's not saying Malik Willis. I'm talking quarterback in general. So I am with you there. I think Malik Willis will be on the board at 8 for Atlanta if they choose that route. But
which I all the signs point that way, but Atlanta's not smart all the time.
Yeah. I mean, I think that offense could work really well if you got Malik Willis, Cordarrelle Patterson, and then, whatever you decide to do at wide receiver since Calvin Ridley is suspended for a year. I mean...
Yeah, you've also got to think about that because they need a receiver bad, too.
Yep.
You trade Julio for a second-round pick. Sounds like Julio's either going to Tampa Bay or Indianapolis.
Lord help.
Because they've been tweeting all day from Indy talking about reunite. We'll see.
I doubt it.
I don't know how much money they got left.
Yeah. Yeah, not only did Atlanta trade Matt Ryan, Atlanta also incurred The largest ever dead cap hit in NFL history of $40 million against the cap. They got a third-round pick back, and Indianapolis will take on Matt Ryan's full contract. So Indianapolis is going to be really right there on the edge for the next couple of years in terms of cap space. And so will Atlanta. So they really only got a third-round pick out of this. That's it. No money, nothing. Just third-rounder.
Stop the cap.
Yeah.
Also happened shortly before we started. Buffalo signs Jamison Crowder to a 1-year, $4 million deal. From what I could see, it didn't really go into detail about the money.
It makes sense. They let go of Cole Beasley, so that does make sense.
Right. Which I'm not really a fan that they let go of Cole Beasley, but Titans need a slot.
Yeah, Titans ain't signing Cole Beasley. I'm gonna go ahead and tell you. I will say Titans did make a trade for a wide receiver after releasing Julio Jones. They traded a 6th-round pick in 2023 for Robert Woods, the wide receiver that tore his ACL in Los Angeles for the Rams. He's got a Super Bowl ring. And
Titans don't.
Yeah, and now
he's got a ring from the team that made sure we didn't.
Yeah. Now he's got A.J. Brown lining up on the other side of the field from him, so he'll like that, I'm sure. And all I've heard from the media is that he's a really good teammate. Works well in the environment, and he's a scheme fit. Sean McVay hated that he had to trade him, and that's always good when you hear stuff like that. So.
Yeah, it's. I've been pretty disappointed with what I've heard from some of the fan base from our some of our online message boards and stuff like that. They're not loving this trade, and if you're not loving this trade, then you're not a Titans fan. I'm sorry. Robert Woods is a good wide receiver. He's a very technical route runner. He fits very well with how the Titans play football. We needed it bad. It saves us from having to waste a draft pick on something outside. Now we can look inside for the slot.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the thing, exactly. Titans are missing a right tackle right now. They signed Jamarco Jones. I don't think he's the answer at right tackle. I think there's going to be a battle at left guard between Dylan Radins and Aaron Brewer. And
honestly, I know it's a lot easier said than done because that's the position that I played in high school, and I know it's not exactly the same. Mm-hmm. But my personal opinion is playing both. You need a guard. Roger Saffold is now with the Bills, so.
Yeah. Well, I think they have their answer at offensive line. Put Dylan Radins at right tackle and throw Aaron Brewer at left guard and get a couple late-round picks and throw some offensive lineman depth in there. Aaron Brewer was good when we saw him last year. He's not full-year starter, but there's going to be a couple cuts between draft day and start of the season. So you might be able to pick up a left guard out in free agency. Richie Incognito is still out there. Maybe you take a look at him. He's an older guy, a veteran, been in the league for a long time. He's been through a lot of crap on and off the field. And I think he would be really good on, the right hip of Taylor Lewan. So you got Ben Jones back. You got Nate Davis. Well, he's going to stay here for a little bit. And at right tackle, that's where I think you plug Radins in. I think he is going to be a good fit, and he's going to be on the Titans' offensive line for a long time.
I think he proved himself this previous year, just in the few games he did get to play.
Yeah. Speaking of offensive linemen, La'el Collins, the right tackle for the Dallas Cowboys, signs with the Cincinnati Bengals. And have they turned around their offensive line?
Yeah, in a hurry. So we're looking at a repeat trip almost. Only teams that worry me now are the West, AFC West, which leads us to another big trade that we haven't talked about yet.
Yep.
Devonte Adams.
Yep.
turns down more money from Green Bay. Green Bay takes a first round and the second for this year. And he is now a Raider. His deal is 5 years, $141. But what a lot of people don't realize is that he has played with Derek Carr already. So,
yep.
I'm going to say cut here real quick. That's another first-round draft pick that changed.
Oh, yeah.
Green Bay takes the Raiders spot.
Yeah, we don't have to cut. It's no big deal.
Okay. Because they'll not be picking at 22.
22, yep. And that's the big thing there, too, is what does Aaron Rodgers think of that? You know, he said, 2 years ago, I want an offensive player. I want you to draft an offensive player. Well, they did. They traded up, drafted Jordan Love, who is supposed to be Aaron Rodgers' successor. He goes, that's not really the offensive player I was talking about.
Yeah.
And then he comes back for another year. He's like, hey, Devonte Adams is the best player I've ever played with, including Donald Driver, Greg Jennings, all these great wide receivers. And they turn around, they're like, oh, he is? We're going to trade him to the Raiders now. So,
yeah.
I feel like Green Bay is trying to
break up everybody right now going. He's going, man, Nashville's looking real good right about now.
Yeah. I mean, you were talking about the AFC West there. Talk about the quarterback, just a quarterback-hungry division. I mean, you're talking about Patrick Mahomes, Derek Carr, Justin Herbert, and Russell Wilson.
Russ.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Chef Russ.
I mean, dadgum, that freaking roster. I mean, the rosters on those teams, it's insane right, or at least the quarterback depth. Quarterbacks on those teams are insane right now.
It's gonna be hard to pick a AFC quarterback for the Pro Bowl this year.
Yeah.
The Pro Bowl sucks. We need to get rid of it. So, I know we were talking about it a little bit, but last week, Miami and Jacksonville have kind of just been spending money because they can, I guess. I guess they forgot that they got to spend money in the draft, too.
Yeah.
I think Jacksonville forgot they got the number one overall.
Well, I think Jacksonville's more so like, well, we're going to screw it up anyway. Might as well sign as many free agents as we can.
But it looks like Miami has hosted Teron Armstead, who is ranked in many lists as the number one available free agent on the market right now.
Offensive lineman love.
Yeah, I think it'd be a good pickup, but I don't know if you've got the rest of the offensive line to match. One piece is not a.
And they've signed some offensive linemen this offseason. Not only have they done that, they drafted Robert Hunt a year or two ago. He's been doing decent on that offensive line. It's just a struggle for them right now. One guy can't make that offensive line, and that's what they have to understand. You can get Teron Armstead, but you're going to have to get a couple other pieces, whether it be, at pick 30 or where are they at? 30.
They're at
pick 29.
29.
Whether it be a 29 in the second round, maybe a wave 3 free agent. But you're really, a veteran. You're really going to need the offensive line help. You got Tua back there at quarterback. You've signed some good running backs.
But you've got Teddy Bridgewater now, too.
Yeah,
so,
exactly.
But go figure, the year that you signed Teddy Bridgewater, like everybody's been asking you to, you cut freaking Devontae Parker.
Yeah.
Dude,
that makes sense.
Really? It's like when they were first getting drafted, I was like, okay, Miami ended up with Devontae Parker. I was like, why not go ahead and sign Teddy Bridgewater? You saw the chemistry. Just keep it up.
Yep.
We waited and waited and waited. And then Minnesota came.
Yep. And then there he went. Yeah, so, I mean, as far as news, like great. Well, Baker.
Going back to Deshaun Watson, Baker Mayfield requested a trade to the and told them that he preferred the Indianapolis Colts. That's obviously not going to happen. And I think, they've got to have a quarterback for next year anyway, is what they're thinking. But in my personal opinion, if I'm Baker Mayfield, you do have the power to just go, yeah, not feeling it. I'm going to sit. You can find Brian Hoyer or somebody from somewhere else. I don't care.
Yeah, not only that. The Cleveland did sign Jacoby Brissett, so they're fully ready to move on from Baker. I just don't think there's a taker out there for Baker. A taker for Baker.
He's already met.
That is the name of this episode.
Okay, taker for Baker. Talk about some clickbait. Let's do it. So he'd already met with the Colts, and they were happy with him. And he has met and talked to Seattle, and they seemed actually not too opposed to taking him either. My question is, Seattle now has Drew Lock and I can't think of his name.
Who?
Third string quarterback.
For
Seattle?
Geno Smith.
Geno Smith, there we go. They now have Drew Lock and Geno Smith. Do you really want to trade for another quarterback right now?
Well, that's the thing is, are you fully ready for Drew Lock to try and be a starter here? Because I don't think he's a starting quarterback in this league. So
I don't know.
I think
Trubisky.
your decision needs to be, is it Baker Mayfield or is it the draft where we're going to find a quarterback? That's up to Seattle. That's up to Atlanta.
Yeah.
Is it? Atlanta can go Marcus for a year or 2 years.
They've got a 2-year contract and just see what happens.
Let the quarterback sit if you're Atlanta. But, if you're Atlanta, to be completely honest with you, I'm going Carson Strong now that you have a viable option at starting quarterback. Let him sit those 2 years or that year and see if he can battle out with Marcus next year and take over that position. So, 8 may be a little high for Carson Strong, so I may trade back a little bit. Maybe around.
Right, you now have that power to trade back.
Yeah, exactly.
And so I just kind of rattled off the news in an order and an unbelievable order. So just random bit of news. Al Michael goes to Amazon for the Thursday Night Football broadcast.
Mm-hmm.
Dallas has now shown interest in Jason Pierre-Paul after signing Dante Fowler. The Titans, we spoke about the Titans signing or trading for Woods, but the Titans also signed Austin Hooper, the tight end that they cut from
Cleveland.
1 year, $6 million. Can't get much better than that for them right now. Rams have extended Stafford 4 years, $160. And Chase Keenum has been traded to the Bills, which means that the people that committed the Minneapolis Miracle are now back together with Stefan Diggs and
Case Keenum. Yep.
Which is, I think that's pretty solid. And I spoke quickly about last week. Fletcher Cox looked like he was kind of in hot water in Philadelphia. Well, they cut him, and then like 10 minutes earlier, re-signed him to a 1 year, $14 million deal.
Yeah, his original contract, I believe, was like $22 million, and he was willing, as far as what I've been able to see, he was willing to take the pay cut, but he wanted it moved to his bonus salary, where he gets all that money up front pretty much. And Philadelphia didn't want to do that. So they cut him, and Fletcher was like, yeah, what, screw it, I'll go back. Nobody's really wanting me for $14 million, so
yeah, and I mean, I don't even know if it was that. He didn't really even test the market. I think that I think there would have been a market for him. He just had to give it time. People didn't even get a chance to read it on the news yet.
Even before you're released, your agent's testing that market. He's calling around to Atlanta, seeing if they want Fletcher Cox to team up with Grady Jarrett, or the Rams saying, "Hey, Aaron Donald, Fletcher Cox, that'd be cool,"
Yes,
So,
he did.
he's fishing.
Take this. Sebastian Day is now a Charger, which further proves the Chargers are pushing for a strong defense.
Yep.
It would have been. He had some good fits, but I don't think anybody's got that kind of money to spend on a DT. Went over Fowler. They haven't released the money deal for Dante Fowler yet. It is just a 1-year deal, but
I'm assuming it'll be around that maybe $7 to $9 million range.
More than likely.
Yeah.
Logan Ryan has been cut from the Giants and is now a Tampa Bay Buccaneer.
Yep.
For a single-year contract.
Former Titan, former Patriot.
And a former Titan that just when he got to New York, just started talking trash.
Yeah.
Why?
Hammered the Titans.
Literally, why? What is your problem? You couldn't cover freaking grass if you wanted to.
Yep.
That's just
it's all talk.
Interesting.
It's all talk because it's funny. Jadeveon Clowney did the same thing, talking about he's going to a better team when Cleveland didn't even make the playoffs last year, and we were the number 1 seed. So you went right on to that better team and did better things, didn't you?
Yeah.
But Dupree came here and he was legit.
And then you got your now switching to something that's a little bit towards the draft. You've got Ajabo.
Mm-hmm.
They did their pro day today, and he tore his Achilles. He was a projected first-round draft pick.
Not anymore.
I'm going to say that his draft stock probably has dropped a little bit. But I also think that somebody who is willing to make the sacrifice will still draft him. Because, you've got people that have seen the success of
Jeffrey Simmons.
And just because he tore his ACL on his pro day doesn't mean that he's just totally done. He's not going to play again.
I'm going to go ahead and say it right now. If you're not mocking Ajabo to get picked at 26 by the Titans, you're wrong. Because that's who the Titans are taking. Because we don't take nothing in the first round if they were never hurt. If they are not currently hurt, we're not taking them. So, Jeff Simmons, okay. Caleb Farley had a huge back issue and then tore his ACL during the middle of the season. So it's John Robinson's hey,
that guy.
Malik Willis.
You've seen the meme of him behind the tree?
Oh, no, I haven't seen that. But he's probably calling up Malik Willis going, "Hey, when's the last time you tore your ACL? Do you want to do it today?"
Yeah. He's calling any wide receiver that can play slot going, "Hey." Because right now, the mock draft that I was working on, or that I have been working on, had him at 23 going to Arizona. Because they obviously lost Chandler Jones, so they're looking to replace that role.
Yeah.
I don't know if they still take that risk in the first round. I think that definitely changes.
Yeah, it's a little high. He may be late first, early second, mid to early second. My big thing, though, is at 26 for the Titans, you're definitely going fast slot receiver, right? Or deep threat. So whatever receiver's there, if you don't like him, I feel like the Titans can most definitely trade back into the second round. There's plenty of receivers in the second round that you can get. Sky Moore out of Western Michigan is one of my favorites. Honestly, I think that's what's more than likely going to happen is we will see Tennessee not have a first-round pick, trade back into the early second round, and within the first probably 10 picks of the second round, pick Sky Moore out of Western Michigan. So just kind of keep your eyes on that. We will do a mock draft of the first round, me and you, and we'll go pick by pick where, you'll pick one player, I'll pick the next for the next team. And we'll write that down, see how that works out. But we'll do that in a later episode. That way we can both prepare for that. I do like the idea of doing that. So,
and I will say, I did go ahead and request those days off so that we can do special draft coverage later in April. But looking here, just continuing to go through some of the news that I've seen. Um, Rams took Allen Robinson off the board. 3 years, $46.5 million. I don't know what that news was supposed to be. I wrote TB 3 years, $60 million. I don't know who TB is, but it's fine. The Steelers have signed Miles Jack, 2 years, $16 million. The Raiders traded Ngakoue for Rocky Sin and a draft pick, but every article I read, I couldn't find the draft pick. I think it was the 4th, but I'm not 100% sure.
Yeah.
Las Vegas cuts ties with Carl Nassib. Seattle has cut Dunlap and Hyder today.
Yep.
That is pretty much all I've got, other than my updated list of where everybody ended up.
All right. Well, looking at the teams that need a quarterback.
Okay.
That would be Houston, more than likely. Davis Mills is probably not going to be the long-term answer there.
I'm looking at I've got the draft order pulled up right in front of me.
Okay.
I'm also thinking maybe Lions. Like, I know you got Jared Goff, but I'm thinking Lions maybe at 2.
Yeah. If they really don't, if they love a quarterback more than they love Aiden Hutchinson, that's where you go. Aiden Hutchinson is probably going to, I wouldn't even say probably, he's definitely a top 3 pick. One of those teams will take Hutchinson.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a matter of who. I think out of bias, I'm hoping it's the Lions, so he's not in our division, because 2 teams in our division have 2 of the first 3 picks. Yeah. So it's like, what's going on?
Yeah.
I think, honestly, in my opinion, it's one of the offensive tackles, whether it be Evan Neal or Akeem Ekwonu for Jacksonville at number 1. They need offensive line. They've made it clear. Whoever can transition to right tackle so Cam Robinson can play left, I think will go there. Detroit is iffy for me. If they really want to continue on with Goff, then they're probably just going to go with Aiden Hutchinson.
Right. I think Goff, you still got a couple years on his contract. I don't think there's anything wrong with using him until you can get a quarterback that you are absolutely in love with.
Yeah, and you have an opportunity for a premier defensive talent. I mean, you let go of Trey Flowers, who was a defensive end for you.
Which I think that says all that we need to know about it.
Yep.
Is that's what they're planning.
Exactly. Yeah, that 3 pick, we know the Jets are not going with quarterback. They've got Zach Wilson. They're happy with him right now. Yeah. But that 3 pick for Houston is what I'm talking about.
Okay.
I think the Jets and the Giants probably have one of the most valuable picks in the draft. It's premier trade bait right there at 4 and 5, because if you're jumping Carolina, if you're jumping the Giants again, if they're not comfortable with Daniel Jones, you're jumping Atlanta and Seattle, who both need quarterbacks more than likely. Unless they really love Marcus Mariota and Drew Lock, which I highly doubt.
I'll say at least Seattle. I think 9. But I would really rather see him go at 9, but that's not. I think
the best fit for a quarterback right now is Seattle, if you can run, because they don't have an offensive line, but they really do have weapons.
Yeah.
Tyler Lockett, DK Metcalf.
And honestly, if I'm the Giants, I'm calling these teams tonight. Tonight, tomorrow, into the next week.
Yep.
Hey, I've got 2 picks in the top 10.
Yep.
You want to get up in front of Carolina? I've got number 5. They need a quarterback, you know. I know you need a quarterback, so I'm trying to help you out a little bit.
That'd be the smart move. And if I'm the Giants, I'm going, hey, I want to trade 7, not 5. Give me the highest pick, because you could probably, I don't know, man, at 4, the Jets, I mean, they could go a couple different ways. They could go offensive tackle.
They could draft quarterback again for the 9th year in a row. It's fine.
I don't think they'll do that. I think they could go offensive tackle. They could go Kayvon Thibodeau out of Oregon, the defensive end.
And I really thought he was going to go to Atlanta, but they don't need him right now. I think they'd rather have a quarterback.
Yeah, and it wouldn't shock me if the Giants do plan on keeping that 7th pick. It wouldn't shock me if Thibodeau gets there at 7, and the Giants just go, screw it, we're taking Thibodeau. We're going to get him here at 5. You might be able to get that safety.
Hamilton.
Yeah, it's a little high, but he's a good player. I'm telling you, that's going to be a starter at least for the next 10 years.
Yeah, absolutely. This is probably the most interesting top 10 picks we've had. Well, and now I'm looking at this. The Jets have 2 picks in the top 10 too.
Yep, 10
because they've got number 10.
4. Yep.
So, both of them have stock to trade.
Yep.
Seattle could call a trade with the Giants. Well, what's Atlanta going to do? Call the Jets and say, "Hey, I really want Malik Willis."
Yeah, we got this new shiny 3rd round pick, and
it's not perfect, but it's not used yet.
Russell Wilson was a 3rd round pick.
I'm gonna say Jamal Adams was a 3rd round pick, even though he wasn't.
No,
but they're gonna believe it because they don't know any better.
Yeah, we'll give you a 6. Tom Brady was a 6th round pick.
There you go. Perfect.
And then, even later in the draft, it starts to get a little bit more interesting, whereas, you start seeing maybe some of the quarterbacks coming off the board. Matt Corral, Malik Willis, if he's not in the top 10, Carson Strong, Desmond Ridder, Sam Howell, Kenny Pickett.
I'm looking right now at the Commanders, and I wrote QB question mark because they traded for Wentz, but as we all know, quarterbacks, their legs do not do well at FedEx Field.
Exactly.
It's not a common thing that goes well.
Is that a possible Baker destination?
Possible Baker destination. Kenny Pickett, maybe.
Yeah.
It's one of those things. You've also got the Vikings.
I got this really strong feeling Pickett's going at 20.
20 to the Steelers?
Yeah. Well, I don't know if he'll make it to 20. I think Pittsburgh may trade up.
Because I'm looking right now, you've got the Commanders at 11, Vikings at 12, and the Saints at 18. That could be looking possible. I think the Saints drafted a quarterback last year, so maybe not.
The Vikings are not going to go quarterback because their new head coach loves Kirk Cousins.
Well, that's fine and all, but if you love Kirk Cousins, you don't give him just a 1-year extension. You sign him.
Well, they gave him a 1-year extension fully guaranteed. Exactly. 1-year extension is different than fully guaranteed.
Yeah.
So
it's just... I mean, if anything, I'm seeing him go at 11. So the Steelers would have to trade up. So, ironically, you can look at this. The Jets could potentially not pick in the 1st round. They have 2 picks. If somebody trades up to 4 to take Malik Willis, and Steelers trade up to 10 to take Kenny Pickett, the Jets suddenly don't have a 1st round draft pick.
Yeah, but to be honest with you, I think the offensive tackle that does not get taken by Jacksonville at 1, the Jets need to take him at 4. So whether that's Akwonu out of NC State or Evan Neal out of Alabama, I think whoever really is more versatile can go to right tackle because you've got your left tackle Mekhi Becton. You need a right tackle to help, and right now you don't have that unless you really like Kenyon Green out of Texas A&M or Tyler Linderbaum out of Iowa, which are my 2 favorite guards in this draft by far.
Mm-hmm. So we're looking at this. So I really think except for maybe Tampa Bay at 27, that's the only other team I could maybe see taking a quarterback.
And I think Tampa Bay needs a receiver.
They do. They absolutely do. I'm just saying, it's as far as the potential game.
Yeah.
They have the next highest of the first round because Tom Brady already fake retired once, and you almost got stuck with Kyle Trask. So
not a receiver. I meant a guard, not a receiver.
Because they lost Ollie Marpet.
Yep, and the kid that went to Kappa, Alex Kappa, went to Cincinnati. I almost said Seattle. He went to Cincinnati, so you need a guard. So is that Linderbaum? Is that Kenyon Green? I think, to be honest, I think you need to somehow trade up, get a little higher in the draft. Maybe Arizona at 23 is willing to trade back a little bit. I think Kenyon Green's going to go to Dallas at 24 unless Arizona is willing to trade. Because Kenyon Green is definitely a first-round pick. I think Linderbaum will probably be later in the first, but Kenyon Green is a mid-first-round pick. And anywhere from that 15 to 23 range, I think he'll be gone quick.
Mm-hmm.
And big thing here to remember, too, is Philadelphia has 3 first-round picks at 15, 16, and 19. Yeah, 19. And Caleb. But Philadelphia has 3 first-round picks, and Brandon Brooks retired. Jason Kelsey's back on a 1-year deal. So maybe you're looking at Kenyon Green there at one of the 3 picks there.
It's definitely a possibility. There's a lot of offensive line need in this first round.
Yes.
So I don't think you'll see any shortage of linemen taken. This may be the most linemen we've seen taken in a first round in a long time.
Yeah, I think that's what we said about a week or two ago. I mean, it's insane the depth on the offensive and defensive line where you could go to a third round to get someone with really great talent. Where you used to, you go to the third round, you'd be like, I think we can wait until the 5th round to get this guy,
Right. Now these third rounders are becoming first rounders, and these 5th rounders are becoming third rounders. Like, you're now having to make early choices, and nobody really knows why. People are just you draft what you need, Let's
talk a little bit about the Saints.
The Saints signing Jameis Winston today, 2 years, $28 million.
Yep.
You get Michael Thomas back at wide receiver. I think that you go into the draft with an open mind. You need to build your defense. You need to build your offensive line. You need another receiver. I like Marquez Callaway, but you need one more. You've got a decent running back core as long as they stay out of prison. But there's an unease in as sort of a capture line. You ready? An unease in the Big Easy. Come on now, tell me about this.
Copyright.
It's just. But I mean, you're looking at this there's just something I look at the Saints and I'm like, man, this just does not feel great.
Well, and that's because they always find themselves in cap hell going into free agency. So,
a week before cap starts, they just start burning money outside the stadium or something. I don't know.
The big thing with New Orleans is Teron Armstead. He's gone. Mm-hmm. You are losing an offensive line. You've got Ryan Ramczyk, who's a really great right tackle. But you need a left tackle. Mm-hmm. And I just don't see how you can go through when we're talking about Evan Neal and Akeem Ekwonu going quickly. I think, honestly, there are 2 offensive tackles that you can take here. But I think you've got to go offensive line. You've got Jameis Winston, possibly Alvin Kamara, depending on what goes on there. But I think even if Alvin Kamara is in, his problem area and he's not with the Saints, you can't take a running back that high right now. You can't do it. So
I don't think there's one worth it. So
exactly, I think Breece Hall is probably the best running back in this draft, and he goes early second round. I don't think we see a running back taken in the first unless it's late first. But at 18, you're probably looking at Charles Cross out of Mississippi State or Trevor Penning out of Northern Iowa. So those
now this mock draft that I'm looking at that I've transcribed, if you will, have them taking Matt Corral, which I think is way too high. But at the time, they didn't have a quarterback, so it may have made a little bit of sense. But now that they've signed Jameis Winston, I think you're now sinking back into that. Okay, now we can make smart decisions.
Yeah,
and we can draft an offensive lineman like we actually need.
Yeah,
I hate to say it, but that rookie kid, he did pretty good. Like the few games he got to play, he showed some potential. He's just young.
Yeah. Wait, who?
For the Saints, they just drafted a quarterback last year. I can't remember the kid's name, but
I don't think so.
Yeah, they had a kid who's a rookie when Taysom and Jameis went down.
They had signed him.
ACL.
They had signed him.
Yeah, like he didn't get drafted, but he was a rookie. Like they drafted, he had never played before.
I believe he's still on the roster. Ian Book, the quarterback out of Notre Dame.
That's it.
Yep,
that's it.
That's off the dome.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, Ian Book is not going to be a starter. I'm going to go ahead and say that right now.
He did not prove good enough to start for me, but he definitely in a different situation where you're actually learning instead of going, hey, just come throw a football 20 yards down the field. We're not making the Super Bowl anyway. I think it's different.
Moving on from 18, going up in the draft a little bit. Okay. And as you can see, we're killing time here making an hour-long episode. But I do want to talk about a few of these picks before we heavy dive into draft talk fully. At 14, we've got a team who was injured all year last year. Could not, like the Titans, get off the injury report. Lamar Jackson.
Especially at the end with Lamar Jackson.
Yeah,
exactly.
Lamar Jackson having problems. Tyler Huntley resigns. He's going to be the backup for Lamar. You got issues at defensive back. At 14 for Baltimore, where do you go?
So this one that I've been looking at takes Derek Stingley Jr., cornerback from LSU. I don't think that's a bad deal, but I do think, if I'm not mistaken, the Ravens have signed some defensive back talent in the free agency.
Yeah, and they've also released Tavon Young, who was one of their corners. I'm assuming, I'm not 100% sure. Has Jimmy Smith been released?
He hasn't been released, but they haven't had any kind of contract talk yet. Or they have been. They haven't been telling anybody.
He's a free agent. Yeah, so I don't think Jimmy Smith will be back. So you're losing two corners right there. You got Marlon Humphrey, you got Anthony Averett, who came over from the 49ers last year, and who you got after that. So I do think Derek Stingley Jr. would be a good pick there, and that's kind of where I wanted to go, was because the AFC North is going to focus on defense.
Right, none of them are good enough to play offense right now.
Well,
they all have to play defense.
I think the AFC North, 3 teams of the AFC North need to focus on defense, and Cleveland may need to focus a little bit on offense too. But as far as Baltimore and Pittsburgh are concerned, if Pittsburgh's probably going to go quarterback, but for the rest of the draft for Pittsburgh, it needs to be offensive lineman and defense, just whoever, best available defensive player. And, I mean, you need to stop Joe Burrow. You need to stop Joe Mixon. Tyler Boyd, T. Higgins, Jamar Chase. You got to stop these guys. And
imagine them trading up here, like, into the top 10. Imagine the Steelers trading up in the top 10 and getting a Kayvon Thibodeau.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not unreasonable.
But the only way I would see that happen would be you're going to have to trade next year's first rounder to get in there because you do not want to lose your first round pick. Mitch Trubisky might be the answer at quarterback, but you cannot move on from Big Ben with might. You need one of these guys will be my quarterback. And if you're going with one guy that might be, I'd rather go with two guys that might be because I've got a better chance with two than I do with one.
Yeah, I mean, I just keep thinking back to the good old days when they had Josh Dobbs, and he was perfect. Like, he literally played great for them.
But, I mean, even if you've got Mitch Trubisky, that offense, James Washington, went to Dallas.
Mm-hmm.
Juju
Smith, Kansas City.
All you
that's one that we missed. Juju Smith signed with Kansas City 1 year, $10 million. Missed that one.
You've got
so much news.
Yeah, I mean, I think Pittsburgh, honestly, their defense alone may lead them to third in that division. But they, right now, if they did not have T.J. Watt and Cam Hayward, and possibly Minkah Fitzpatrick, I think without pretty much the big three for them on defense, that this team may win 5 games next year.
Mm-hmm.
But T.J. Watt's there, and that changes things a lot. So if you do focus on defense for Pittsburgh, it's going to have to be a fast corner, Derek Stingley Jr. It's going to have to be, maybe you sign somebody. I mean, Stefan Gilmore's still out there.
Mm-hmm.
And that's
one that I was really shocked. I can't believe that he's still available.
He is, for me, he was the best corner on the market. Other than J.C. Jackson. So
yeah, because I believe Baltimore may have already taken the safety and replaced Jimmy Smith. They signed Marcus Williams, who's coming from the Saints, to a 5-year $70.
That's right.
So,
but that's
Marcus Williams is safety. But I couldn't think of who it was. But Stingley will still be a great option for them. Sorry, I'm checking my notes to see.
No, you're good.
So I thought there was one more, but I can't remember who it was. The only other person, and I've only got the top 100 right in front of me, so he may have been outside of the top 100.
No, I don't have Ravens down for a corner right now.
So they got Morgan Moses was the only other pick that I've seen so far.
Yeah. Yeah, Ravens signed free safety Marcus Williams to 5-year $70, but I think that's just an answer alongside Terrell Edmonds. I think Minkah Fitzpatrick is probably leaving at this point. He's a little too expensive for their blood, even though they just signed one for a 5-year, $70 million deal. I think that's exactly what Minkah Fitzpatrick's worth. But Minkah may be asking for a little bit more than that.
Right, because he, I think, personal opinion, might be a little bit better than that. Might be a little bit worth more of that. But you got to find somebody who can pay that,
Exactly, yeah.
Hey, that was early. That was day one stuff you needed to be calling around. He's a little late to the party.
Yeah. So we'll go ahead and head out for the week. Next week we'll do the mock draft. Okay, this is our first mock draft. Okay.
Just our early first,
Yep, and we'll more than likely do another one before then, or after then, to kind of see if any other free agent signs that change what we may think there. But
you still got Teron Armstead, Stefan Gilmore.
Exactly. Yeah, so that's why we'll do next week mock
Bobby
draft.
Wagner.
Coach's Kingdom mock draft number 1. And we'll do this one separately. The second mock draft we'll do together. But this one will be separate. Caleb will start off with the first pick. I'll have the second, and it'll go, Caleb will have the third, I'll have the fourth. Caleb will have the sixth, I'll have the seventh. So I'll pretty much I screwed up there. But, numbers, we don't do fast math on coaching.
Numbers are hard for linemen.
numbers are difficult.
Especially dumb linemen like Ryan. Don't tell him I said that.
Whatever. Offensive linemen, they're the dumb ones. So, yeah. So I'll take all the even numbers. You'll take all the odds, and we'll go from there. Okay.
There you go. You found your way to it.
Yeah, a little bit easier explaining it that way. So we'll do that next week. So look forward to that. And yeah, just another great episode of Coach's Kingdom. We'll move on. And Caleb, I'll see you next week, man.
See you next week.
All right.
Maybe on the beach. Maybe we'll be somewhere else. Who knows?
Yep. Rolling the socials now.
Roll them socials, baby.